So, Victor, how was your experience? Why did your parents go to the United States in the first place?
Well, man, that's actually really interesting. It starts with my aunt. My aunt studied in at the Federal University, the Fluminense Federal University. I hate translating these terms, man. And funny enough, she graduated in the 90s or something, you know, when I was practically coming into this world. So she was leaving to the US. And she had graduated in mechanical engineering. And, you know, she had like the whole government crisis with Collor and everything that was happening in Brazil. So she decided to go to the US because a lot of her friends were, you know, headed there and everything. So she already had this open contact. And then in '99, when I was 6 years old, my mom and stepdad, we're not going to go into a lot of family issues because you guys have probably watched Casos de Família. You guys know a little bit how it is. And so, you know, we decided to go. Yeah, the next steps, we're going to talk a little bit more about it, right, Yuri? And, you know, but one thing that I'm really, really grateful for was the fact of having gone because, man, it changed all of our lives, right?
Yeah. For sure, for sure. No, it changes, you know, the experiences we have there. It's totally different.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not just English, you know. Nowadays, I see more of it. Because when you came back as well, you know, your first language was English.
Yeah.
Lucas and I kind of like, you know, transferred in our heads and everything. But it's really interesting to see that, you know, the people you meet. I mean, when I came back, I was 13. I didn't even know what the hell was happening, you know? And people are always saying, oh, English is important, but you don't really understand that until you start having, actually in my case, it was when I started teaching, and especially being in a big city in not only Brazil, but I think anywhere you are in the world today, having that experience, having that contact with English and starting seeing people that, you know, unfortunately are losing their jobs or they're missing out on opportunities to grow, you know, in their careers. That's really sad, you know.
Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, but for example, I could say that my parents, both of them know English, you know, so going outside, going to United States, it's perfect. You know, it's really good to learn, but as you said, not only English, the experiences we have, right? But my parents, they actually went to the United States with their parents. So like my mom was 13, you know, when she went. So, and my dad, I think it was 15 or 16, so they went really young. That's why, for example, like my mom had me with 15, you know.
Wow.
so
welcome to the club, man.
Yeah, so it's something normal, you know, but they didn't have really a reason, the same way I didn't have a reason to come back to Brazil, you know. So they were kids, they came with their parents, and me too, like I came with them. And they didn't meet in Brazil, they actually met in the United States, so it wasn't really a strategic union, you know. but yeah, they were Brazilians, they met there and they married, they had me, so yeah, I'm happy that it happened, you know, and I hope they're happy as well. At least they tell me every day that they're happy. Okay. All right, but what about coming back to Brazil? Did you come like really afterwards? How long did you stay in the United States?
Yeah, man. So I stayed there for 7.5 years. It was practically 8, so I always round it up. And it was a bit complicated, actually. My parents were getting divorced. Yeah, man, it's a long story, you know. We can talk about that in a future podcast. And, you know, my head was literally spinning. I remember when I got to the airport in Rio, man, I heard like, because like in the US, the airport, I think airports in general are organized, but you know, people are more silent, you know, they take books, they read, everything's okay. And when in Brazil, you're like, canetinha, R$5, táxi, you know, man, and my head was exploding because I was still, you know, digesting the information that, wow, my parents are getting divorced. I'm back in, you know, the country that I honestly, I don't know you, but I never imagined coming back to Brazil, you know. And like I said, I was 13 at the time, so I think it's the age where you're opening your mind to new things. You're starting to understand how the world works, but you know, you think you know everything, but in truth, you don't know anything. And yeah, man, that it was you know, and I think this is interesting to point out as well. I think it could have been a really traumatic experience. In parts it was, but I made the best out of it. You know, the same way you did, the same way Lucas did, and you know, I also know other Brazilians that had similar experiences to ours, and also with parents getting divorced. And I know that, you know, for them, it wasn't so easy, you know, dealing with all the problems that they had and, you know, psychologically and everything. But we're here, man.
Yeah, for sure. No, my parents they were together when they came to Brazil, it was in 2007, so I was only 7 years old. I don't remember so much.
Oh, you came back in 2007?
Yeah, I came back.
Me too.
Oh,
in February.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah.
I don't remember the day, the month. But
Yeah,
but maybe we met at the airport.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Okay. All right, but in my case, I didn't even know what was happening. I was really young. I don't even remember so much. I just remember getting out of school, my last day of school, and my parents you're not going to school again, we're going to Brazil, But I know that it was something I don't know, they were really, homesick, My family, the whole family, my grandmother, everyone was here in Brazil, so they were kind of homesick. So they came to Brazil, and I just came with them. So I didn't have a bad experience with it. But, we came to Brazil, everything was messed up, Afterwards, my parents got divorced as well. But, since I don't have many memories, I think it's fine,
Yeah, let's keep it that way.
Yeah, let's do it that way, please. Okay. Well, what about going back to the United States? Do you think on going back?
Yeah, that's a good question, Yuri. A lot of people ask me that. A lot of our students, I'm sure that, they ask all of us that. Man, I think it's wonderful to live in a first world country. I'll be honest with you. It took me a while to adapt back to Brazil and all the customs and everything. In terms of going back, I wouldn't say no, but I think today with the school and how everything's going, I'm really satisfied with it. So, it might hold me back a little bit. But to be honest, Yuri, nowadays when I think of going back to a first world country, the US isn't my first option anymore. I would maybe think of Australia, because I lived in California, you were in Philly, and man, you know how the weather is. I lived in Connecticut for a year, and that's complicated.
Yeah.
And, so I would really think of, the weather, the people as well. I never really had much problem with that. I've always been I've had good people skills, I would say. But yeah, it's hard. Right off the bat, you really got me. What about you? Would you like to go back? You can go back. You're an American citizen.
Yeah, I could go back, but I don't know. Right now I'm engaged, I'm really happy where I am. I'm really stable, Financially speaking, I can grow better, but I think that it's perfect. The life I'm having is really good, everything's working out fine. I have other intentions, and also I'm close to my family. So I think that is a really important point. Yeah. And of course, I'm engaged, so my girlfriend, my fiance, she wants to stay in Brazil, so I think that's a strong point as well. But I'm really happy in Brazil. I don't think Brazil is a bad place to live.
Yeah, no, of course. I think that's something that I really grew to all those that are hearing us that are might be going through the same as well. Keep that in mind. I really had. My family's from Rio, and in Rio you see all the favelas, the slums around you, the ghetto, poverty. That was a really, really big shock to me, because I remember, man, it was stuff that we would read about in books, and you would say wow, man, we're in the 21st century. This doesn't happen anymore. And yeah, it does, and way more than we think, So I honestly, I have, my mindset now to, doing the best that I can do, improving my life, and consequently I'll help, other people through that. And these other people help others, will help others, So it's the concept of Ubuntu, which... it's a future release. We're going to talk about that in a future podcast.
Yeah, keep following us because you guys are going to know what we're talking about, right?